prices have eased and the government is talking resilience, but the fuel story isn't over. With global uncertainty still in play, what really matters next for prices and supply in New Zealand? Well, here's what you need to know. Kia ora, I'm Carolyn Young, Chief Executive of Retail NZ, and today I'm joined by Simon Parham, who's the CEO of Waitomo. Thanks for joining us again, Simon.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Look, firstly, I should note that we're recording this update on the 21st of April because we know things change quickly, but this information we're going to provide you today is accurate as at today. And I thought what might be useful, Simon, was just to really give people an overview of, sort of the oil prices. We've seen the price per barrel come down the last couple of days. What can you kind of tell people what we're seeing and what you're seeing and are thinking about the outlook?
I guess the outlook is I'm positive about the outlook. I'm looking ahead, looking at the futures curves, looking at what's happening in the markets on a daily basis. And I guess the overlay is we listen to the news and we hear, oh, the strait's open, the strait's closed, there's peace talks on, there's a ceasefire on, it's off, it's on, it's off. And I think largely I'm positive because I think the market is looking through the headlines and seeing that, to a greater extent, the supply has solved for itself, and there's plenty of crude in the world, and it's rebalanced. So that's where the market prices are softening. When we look at both the spot prices out in May, even to what's happening, at close of business last night. So I still think that it's a tale of two products, though. Gasoline grades, they obviously didn't escalate as high, so they will soften at a slower rate. But diesel, I'm still positive that diesel, that we should start to see some decreases coming on diesel. And even like if I look at our pump price, today versus, this time last week, we're 50 cents cheaper. So we've got 50 cents a litre. Gasoline's probably been like 10 cents a litre to 15 cents a litre that's dropped. I think there is some good momentum in the market that we're seeing diesel prices come off. And I think diesel's really important, right? Because it is that lifeblood of logistics, production, everything. So it's really going to help us all.
Yeah, it's the lifeblood of retail. And I guess the question I would have for you, so what I'm hearing you say is that you're comfortable about supply. You don't have any concerns about supply, and that in turn will help us see some lowering of prices potentially of diesel as well as the fuel that we've already seen.
Yeah, so the supply I think is fine, and we see those updates from MB that come out, on twice a week. I guess we've also probably seen a bit of softening of demand, and that's price doing the heavy lifting on that. People just deciding to use less, probably overlaid with some pretty horrific weather events over the last couple of weeks. People are sort of hunkered down, but so supply isn't the issue. It's really about what the markets do around price, and we are seeing sort of a downward trend in the market. Even last night, I was expecting to see it potentially tick up, but it came off sort of circa $15 a barrel. But that closed at $155 a barrel. Before this crisis, it was $80 a barrel. So there's still a long way to go. But if looking ahead at the futures curves, 3-4 months over winter, hopefully it starts to come down and we'll be in better shape around Christmas time.
So while we're not there, we're at least seeing some positive movement, which is really reassuring for both retailers and consumers. But look, yesterday there was an announcement about some increased storage capacity in New Zealand. Could you give us like a high-level overview of what that means for New Zealanders?
Sure. I think what the government's essentially done is signed up more resilience. There's circa 9 days of diesel that's going to be in the country. And, I think that's just that one little additional supply point and storage point that helps us in a crisis. And I think even though the market is solving for itself and solved for itself, and the fuel importers have done an amazing job to keep the supply coming, it's just that safety net there that, should something else happen in the coming months, when I guess looking at the total world market, things I guess are still fragile. It takes a while to untangle, I guess, the mess that we're in. And I think just having that little bit of resilience, that little bit of insurance in country with our sort of fingers on it so it doesn't go anywhere is going to be helpful.
And especially for diesel, diesel is what fuels retail, 93% of freight. that is distributed across the country is on the roads in New Zealand. And those trucks are, by and large, probably 98, 99% are, run on diesel. So that gives us some certainty that we continue to have products available across New Zealand. And while the conflict is not yet resolved, we're in a more settled space, well, whilst not resolved both in terms of ongoing supply and price, there's no immediate concerns that we're seeing. So that's a better place than we were in 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I guess that's a good news for us.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, when you're looking at service station runouts and days of stock supply, it felt like the new COVID, the new case numbers
Yeah.
that were getting reported every day. So, once again, it's just a little bit more assurance for us as New Zealand Inc. that we've got enough product to do what we need to do, and we just need to ride the wave of the price, which, let's face it, it's been crippling, and we want to get through this as soon as we can.
Yeah, perfect. Look, thank you so much, Simon, for joining me today. It's really a pleasure to chat to you as always and hear more about what's happening in the fuel sector in New Zealand.
Thank you.
Look, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode today, and don't forget you can access a discount to Waitomo fuel at the moment of 15 cents a litre via the Retail NZ partnership with Cora. Get in touch with our partnership team if you want to find out more at partnerships@retail.kiwi. This was part of our Empowering Retail series, your go-to resource for actionable insights to improve your business. Watch out for further episodes and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, ka kite anō. Bye for now.